It was just another slow afternoon at the travel agency when the door chimed. A couple walked in, holding hands, smiling as if they had the world at their feet. I turned to greet them with my usual customer service smile, the one I had perfected over years of working in this job. But the second my eyes landed on the man standing beside the glowing bride-to-be, my smile froze. My heart stopped. Sitting next to the young, radiant woman was none other than Kendrick, my husband. He looked as if he'd seen a ghost. His face went pale, and for a second, he avoided my gaze, his eyes darting to the floor like a guilty child. How dare he? Right here, in front of me, as if I didn't exist. The woman beside him was blissfully unaware, chatting about how they were planning their honeymoon. I forced a smile, swallowing the storm brewing inside me. There were a million things I wanted to scream at him, but not here. Not now. This wasn't the place for a confrontation. If I've learned anything in the past few years of my crumbling marriage, it's how to hold it together when everything inside you is falling apart. "How can I help you today?" I managed to say, keeping my voice steady, as if I wasn't falling apart inside. "We're planning our honeymoon," the woman exclaimed, beaming at me. Her voice was filled with excitement, her eyes sparkling with the joy of someone in love. Meanwhile, Kendrick sat beside her, looking more like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. For a split second, I thought it might be a horrible coincidence. Maybe this man just looked like Kendrick. But when his eyes finally met mine, I saw the panic in them. That same look he gave me when he was caught in a lie. It was him. What was he doing here, sitting beside this woman, planning a honeymoon? He was supposed to be on a business trip to South Carolina, but here he was with this fiancé. I smiled again, but my mind raced. How long had this been going on? I wanted to confront him right there, in front of her, to expose his lies. But instead, I said calmly, "That sounds wonderful. Let me help you make it an unforgettable experience." My tone was sweet, but beneath the surface, my rage was bubbling. I could barely stand to look at him, but I had to know more. So I played the part of the helpful agent. As I guided them through honeymoon options, Kendrick avoided eye contact, barely speaking, while the woman, Kelly, I later learned, continued to gush about their future together. "We haven't officially submitted our marriage certificate yet," Kelly mentioned, giggling. "But we're too excited to wait for the honeymoon." It was like a knife to the chest, hearing this stranger talk about her future with my husband as if I didn't exist. She even noticed my wedding ring and casually asked, "Oh, are you married too?" I glanced at Kendrick, my voice steady as I answered, "Yes, I am. My husband is supposed to be on a business trip right now." The words were meant for him, and when our eyes met, he turned as pale as the paper on my desk. Kelly remained oblivious, smiling as if everything was perfect. I let them leave that day without revealing the truth. There was a part of me that wanted to tear Kendrick's world apart right then and there, to ruin whatever fantasy he was living with this woman. But I knew better. I needed time to think, to plan. This wasn't over. That night, I texted Kendrick, "Meet me at the family restaurant tonight. Show up, or I'll tell her everything." His reply came instantly. He'd been avoiding me for weeks, but the moment his lies were at risk of exposure, he responded like a scared child caught in the act. When I arrived at the restaurant, Kendrick was already seated, sipping his coffee like nothing was wrong. He didn't look like the panicked man from earlier. He was back to his smug, arrogant self, as if he had the upper hand. "Miranda," he greeted me with a casual nod. "It's been a while." I sat down across from him, refusing to let him get under my skin. "South Carolina, huh?" I said, my voice calm but sharp. "You don't look like you've been on a business trip." He rolled his eyes, leaning back in his chair. "That tone," he muttered. "That's why this marriage isn't working. You've changed, Miranda. You used to be cute, fun. Now look at you. Dull, nagging, always complaining." I could barely believe the words coming out of his mouth. He spoke as if I were the problem, as if his cheating were somehow my fault. But I didn't bite. Instead, I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. So, what's the plan, Kendrick? You're just going to keep living this lie, stringing me along while you plan a future with her? He smirked, his arrogance infuriating. I'm not stringing anyone along. I'm done with you, Miranda. I'm moving on. Kelly's everything you're not. Fun, exciting. And besides, he added with a shrug, she doesn't have your baggage. His words cut deep, but I refused to let him see me break. Is that so? I said quietly, my voice steady. Well, enjoy your new life, Kendrick, but I hope you're ready for what's coming next. He raised an eyebrow. And what's that supposed to mean? I smiled, the kind of smile that sent a chill down his spine. You'll find out soon enough. With that, I left the restaurant. I didn't need to argue with him anymore. I had a plan, and soon Kendrick would regret ever thinking he could get away with what he'd done. The next morning, I went to work with renewed purpose. I was no longer the devastated wife. I was the woman who was going to take her revenge, and I was going to do it perfectly. When Kelly called to confirm their honeymoon trip, I couldn't help but smile. Oh, it was going to be a trip they'd never forget. I offered them a special package, a nature-filled honeymoon retreat. It's one of our most exclusive tours, I explained. Relaxing, peaceful, perfect for newlyweds. Kelly was thrilled, gushing about how excited she was for the trip. Kendrick, on the other hand, was noticeably quiet. Good, I thought. He should be worried. Over the next few weeks, I meticulously planned every detail of their honeymoon. I wanted it to be perfect. Not for them, of course, but for me. I consulted Kendrick's parents, who were more than happy to help once they learned what their son had done. They agreed to come along on the trip, posing as other tourists. Kendrick had no idea what was coming. Finally, the day arrived. Kelly and Kendrick showed up at the meeting point, all smiles as they prepared for their romantic getaway. I greeted them warmly, guiding them to the bus that would take them to the first destination. As they boarded, Kendrick's face fell. Sitting there, smiling warmly, were his parents. "Oh, what a coincidence!" Kelly exclaimed, completely oblivious to the tension in the air. "Are you two on the same tour?" Kendrick's eyes widened in horror. He shot me a furious glance, but I just smiled sweetly. "Yes, it seems so." "Isn't it nice to have family around?" Kendrick's parents were more than happy to play along, chatting with Kelly as if this were just another normal family outing. But Kendrick? He was a mess. His face was pale, his hands clenched into fists, and I could see the panic rising in him. He knew he was trapped. The bus ride was long, and with every passing mile, Kendrick's discomfort grew. His parents chatted away with Kelly, who seemed thrilled to be making such a great impression on her future in-laws. Meanwhile, Kendrick sat in silence, his eyes staring out the window, his jaw clenched. The tension was palpable, but I said nothing. I wanted him to sweat. I wanted him to feel the same helplessness I had felt when I saw him with her. Our first stop was a scenic overlook, a beautiful spot where couples could take in the breathtaking view of the river below. It was the perfect place for pictures, for happy moments. But for Kendrick, it was torture. You see, Kendrick had always had a terrible fear of heights. Even looking over a third-floor railing at a mall made him uneasy. And now, here he was, standing at the edge of a cliff, with nothing but air between him and the river far below. Kelly, of course, was thrilled. "Let's take a picture together," she said, pulling Kendrick to the edge. He resisted, but with his parents watching, he couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. So he stood there, frozen, his face white as a sheet, while Kelly snapped selfies with him. But the real fun began when the tour guide mentioned the bungee jump. "Legend has it," the guide explained, "that couples who bungee jump together while declaring their love will be together forever." Kelly's eyes lit up. "Oh my gosh, Kendrick, we have to do this." Kendrick, on the other hand, looked like he was about to faint. No, I can't. I really can't." But Kelly was persistent, and before he knew it, Kendrick was strapped into a harness, standing at the edge of the platform, looking down at the dizzying drop below. His legs shook, and I could see the terror in his eyes. And that's when it happened. Overwhelmed by fear, Kendrick broke down. In front of everyone, Kelly, his parents, me, he started confessing everything. He admitted to cheating, to lying, to using Kelly for her money. He even begged for forgiveness, though whether he was asking me, Kelly, or some higher power, I couldn't tell. Kelly, for her part, was furious. "You lied to me?" she demanded, stepping back from him. "All this time and you were married?" Kendrick tried to backpedal, but it was too late. His lies were unraveling and there was no way out. As Kelly turned to me, I smiled. It was time for the final act. "Shall we do this together?" Kelly asked, her voice cold. "Absolutely," I replied. Together, we stood behind Kendrick, and with one final push, we sent him off the platform. His scream echoed through the canyon as he plummeted toward the river below, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The honeymoon, of course, was over. Kelly canceled their engagement immediately, suing Kendrick for emotional damages and leaving him in financial ruin. His parents disowned him, disgusted by his behavior. As for me, I filed for divorce the very next day. Kendrick was left with nothing but his debts and a ruined reputation. He had the nerve to ask me for a second chance, but I was done with him. I served him with divorce papers and never looked back. As for Kelly, she reached out to me afterward. "Thanks to you, I dodged a bullet," she said. "Next time I plan a honeymoon, I'll definitely be coming to you for help." We both moved on, leaving Kendrick in the dust. He had tried to play us both, but in the end, he was the one left hanging, literally. And that, as they say, was the perfect revenge.